It's your boy, the one and only A Switch, aka Suck on My Nipples and Call Me Sweet. aka, is that some Swedish fish in your pocket, or you happy to see me? aka aka the Komaki Tiger Dropper, aka Nighty Night Nights, aka the Nickel Master, bringing you yet another episode of Switches Sights. Episode, try not to look at anything, I think 172. Yeah, right, we did it. 172. Hold on here. Probably put this over here. 172. Hello. I'm here. I don't know where I was gonna go with that, but I'm just gonna let it pass. Pretty good week episode for you this week, bye week, whatever you want to call it. Resident Evil 4 has been out for a bit. Literally, I think right before. I remember I recorded a little bit earlier because it was going to be crazy. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. Probably the biggest, some very surprising, not necessarily surprising, but surprising in a certain way, in regards to E3 and stuff like that. So, you know what? Without further ado, let's stop the dilly-dallying and get right into it. First topic of discussion. E3 2023 has been officially canceled. Considering just obviously, if you don't know what a E3 is, it's probably like, damn, second coming Christmas for gamers. Second Christmas for gamers is probably as they thing as I'd say personally. Probably like a lot of the biggest notorious announcements have been made at this event. Especially, during the earlier years, all up until recently. Pretty much up until COVID is when things got a little shifty. Well, a little bit before that, the event was only accessible to people in media press, and if you try to get into it, it's a whole arduous process. And then you have so there's that, and then there's of course obviously the big three at least have a history of going there. Microsoft, PlayStation, and Nintendo have always had a presence there to show their stuff and whatnot. Then I think eventually Nintendo, even though Nintendo, they never really did the press conferences and stuff. They stopped doing the press conferences for the directs in favor of directs, like I want to say maybe around 2013, 2014, maybe earlier than that. But they did still maintain a presence there. They still were on the show floor of E3. And pretty much similar stories for PlayStation and Microsoft. I think Microsoft also branched off where they had a separate event that was nearby the E3 at the LA Convocation Center. Let me look that up actually where the location is of E3. Yeah, Los Angeles Convention Center. So they had that. And yeah, Microsoft would have its events in a separate place, but still again would have a presence on the E3 show floor as well. So this was pretty much the kind of status quo for the longest up until um I want to say like 2016 is when they started introducing like fans could start uh applying to get access to the show or event. And then that got kind of muddy because then it was like, then the lines were like extra long when they were long to begin with, just for media alone, at least from many people, being on the show floor and stuff like that. I've not had the opportunity to attend an E3. May not be able to ever if going by how things go, but yeah. So it just after that, you now get the COVID happened, of course, and then that obviously totally put a whole halt on E3 in a lot of ways, where they pretty much postponed it for a while. I think they had some very half-assed attempt, I think, last year, and then on top of that, Jeff Keighley also put his foot in the ring, where I guess he had a disagreement with the pretty much the coordinators of E3, and eventually just dispersed away from them to do his own thing to kind of essentially rival E3, a summer, a space within summer to host events and whatnot. And that's where there was a lot of competition as well, where Summer Games Fest, which, happens around the time for E3. So it made things really weird and confusing. And then, like, the big three started, giving their stuff and announcements to the Summer Games Fest, a fair amount. So then it just got muddy, like, okay, so now we got E3, we got Summer Games Fest, and then we got PlayStation, Microsoft, and Nintendo doing all their separate stuff in a way. It was just weird, but nonetheless, there was at least anticipation that, I think everybody started getting on the track to like, oh man, E3 is about to be done for, just pack it up, which I definitely was on that side considering things. And so a lot of was riding on this year if E3 would come back or not. But it seems like a lot of the companies just started backing out. It seemed promising, at least initially, but then pretty much everybody just announced they're not coming to E3, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. So obviously those are the big three that are vying to be there, as well as like some of the notable third party publishers like Ubisoft. I'm not sure if Capcom fully confirmed it or not, but basically a lot of the big substantial ones there. So then with all them backing out, it's like, what's the incentive motive now? So now they eventually, I think it got broken through IGN, where they announced that, hey, E3 is they're pretty much done, and they didn't announce yet, and then they eventually did announce, like, yeah, E3 is done, or my bad, E3 2023 is canceled, so technically it could still be next year, but it's not looking promising considering all this. And then who knows what happens with Summer Games Fest with Jeff Keighley, who conveniently announced, hey, Summer Games Fest is still rearing to go on June 9th. Get ready for a lot of good announcements and all that. And it's like, oh yeah, it seems like a takeover if I ever seen anything. So we'll see how things play out come this summer. But it seems like that whole zeitgeist has been taken over in a way. Especially like a lot of the momentum. Obviously that E3's had all these years. It just does not look too promising. So I guess we'll see next year for sure. That'll answer a lot of our questions and suspicions in regards to next year E3. And who knows, maybe like E3 and Summer Games Fest might merge, where actually they'll, Jeff and the crew might take ownership in a way, and maybe they'll like merge, and to keep the namesake, and maybe still potentially still hold the event to some extent as well. But it's hard to say as of now. But pretty much officially, at least for this year, E3 2023 is yet again canceled. I think it was canceled 2020, and then they had a very, very, very iffy, like I think half-assed 2021 and 2022. So who knows? It's a weird bittersweetness kind of thing, because well, at least for me, the first big sign, like, oh man, E3 is not really like it used to be, because like was the big conferences where there are people on stage, and guys, we've heard you, and making all the announcements, and people getting famous people like Keanu Reeves and The Rock or something, announcing, talking in detail about pre-staged questions and answers and stuff like that. Yeah, of course it was like all right, but it was a weird charm to it that I did kind of like and look forward to, as much as maybe I would maybe occasionally make fun of. But part of me did really like that, though, at least watching it from home and stuff like that. So yeah, and then of course all multiple people getting together, of course, like podcasts and stuff, with a lot of crossovers with media outlets and stuff like that, which was always a fun thing to experience and listening on, in terms of talking about inside baseball of like some new games being shown, new details of games being shown, new demos and things like that. So it's kind of sad to, if this potentially is the last of E3 that we'll see. But I don't know. I don't, if worst case scenario, I think somebody's going to purchase the name rights, or, rights, naming rights, branding, that is E3 at worst. I think E3 will technically still live on. How that will be, years from now is hard to see, but I think at worst we'll still have an E3. It just will look very different from what we have had in the past. But doesn't bode too well, at least so far. And of course that old kerfuffle of everybody's information, that a lot of the media and journalists' information got doxed via the ESA, who are behind the E3 as well. So it's sad to hear, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like, if anything, even if the E3 name is gone, which I highly doubt, I mean, we still always will have that expectation of like summer being a big event. I guess maybe that might be the thing that might be a little bit different too, is that summer games, a lot of games that are normally announced generally within the span of a week or two, more so within a week, maybe spread out even more, will probably be still fairly condensed, but might be still stretched out, where multiple publishers and main companies like PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo will reveal their stuff. Who knows? I don't know. I will say I definitely just missed the condensed 1 week, just onslaught of gaming news. And obviously, as a huge video game fanatic myself, that's just like just being in a damn candy store, Christmas, the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison, at least for me. It's the Super Bowl for gamers, in a way. Yeah, I think that's a fair analogy. I think, yeah. Nonetheless, E3 is canceled. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. Moving on. Last of Us Part 1 PC port came out fairly recently. And boy, it is not looking too great. PC port as of right now, pretty rough. At least according to Tom Warren. Of course, multiple other people within the Steam community forums and whatnot. A lot of crashing, a lot of weird performance issues, a lot of graphical bugs. Like one that's very funny is I guess this is one scene in the game where like everybody's just weirdly randomly wet for no apparent reason. I was like, yo, maybe it's just very hot, maybe it's like, it's just very hot out there. But obviously, compared to the PS5 version, it's clearly a discrepancy where, they're not supposed to be wet like that. Then you got probably one of the most notorious like memes at this point, I feel like. You got Joel, his character model, just looking just Nintendo Switchy as ever. And I mean that in the negative sense in this regard. Like they were this close to bringing The Last of Us to the Nintendo Switch, because man, he looks very just cell shaded and not great of a character model. But yeah, so you got that, performance issues, crashing, weird unoptimization. Like I was watching a fair amount of the Digital Foundry kind of breakdown where they basically compared all the versions of The Last of Us, like a high-end PC versus a low-end PC, as well as putting in the PS5 in there for fair comparisons. And yeah, it just seems to be some very weird optimizations in regard to CPU utilization as well as GPU utilization. Just very odd stuff that just seems like it overall just needs some more time in the oven. And also considering that this game was delayed previously as well. I think it was originally set to come out. Let me look it up. I think it was. Yeah, it was originally supposed to come out March 3rd, 2023, but then they pushed it back to March 28th, 2023. And apparently it looks like that wasn't enough because of what we got now. So, game is getting blasted on Steam. Just heavily negative reviews regarding optimizations and whatnot. So, this is probably a biggest, example of this is why you don't get PS5 games. I can't even. This is why you don't get PS5 games on PC. Just stick with the console, and that's unfortunate. It's like this is the year 2023, and we're still having issues porting PC games, PC ports in general, because it's just unfortunate. And that's always the thing I had an issue with when it comes to PC gaming. Obviously, this is a disclaimer. I have a pretty decent PC myself, a 3090 and whatnot. So let's not get into that. But it's just occasionally you have some games that just are weirdly run horrible compared to their console counterpart, due to the various ranges of combinations and setups that is kind of like the Pandora's box of PC. And who knows, I think maybe some people may not have issues, but obviously the far majority might. It kind of maybe reminds me of Batman what was it, the Dark Knight, where I played it and I never had any issues, and then I'm hearing a lot of people having issues. Obviously, they might clearly have different setups than I do, but that still doesn't stray away from the point where just it always feels like a gamble when you get in a PC port of a game. It just is it gonna actually perform how it should compared to the console? And do you want to deal with all the extra time you have to put to get it to work, whether it be trying to find mods to actually fix the game, which I just always feel that's so unfortunate, where you have to get a mod to fix the game that obviously the developer should have been doing in the first place. But I digress. It is what it is. So hopefully, it seems like it'll eventually get in good shape. Hopefully, I going by obviously the delay and stuff. Yeah, it seems like they probably just needed more time, and it needed more time in the oven. So, moving on. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. Finally, we got some announcements of when this game actually comes out, and that was obviously my biggest gripe. Like, man, why did they release it on PC and we've yet to get a console port? And finally, we're getting a console port. There was like collector's editions and physical editions they dropped on the Square Enix store a while back, but now we're actually finally getting announcement of the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster launching on PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. Obviously, PlayStation 5 owners can play this game still via backwards compatibility. I'm assuming that's why they did that, to just keep the flexibility of being on both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So yeah, drop in April 19th. And so you got Final Fantasy 1 through 6 basically to play and catch up on. Some notable things that I don't think were in the PC version. I assume they'll probably, patch these to the PC versions as well, but you can change soundtracks. Pixel Remaster series features utterly superb. Oh, there we go with the utterly superb orchestral arrangements of Final Fantasy 1 through 6 soundtrack. However, we know you may want to recreate the original experience of playing these games, so you'll be able to switch between the original and rearranged soundtracks. Also, you can change fonts. I know. Pretty great. So, fonts was a huge issue with from what I recall, was during the PC release of these games, that just the font was very weird, and I think it caused a lot of issues just with the font. So now it seems like there is a new font that you can add that obviously will presumably be way better and ideal, hopefully, considering how problematic they were originally. You can turn off random encounters, which has been a thing that's been with a lot of remasters and ports. People realize, man, we are wasting a lot of people's time. Maybe we should just not have these, which I'm all for. It always felt like random encounters were always just an arbitrary way to lengthen a game without any purpose necessarily. So, obviously there is the caveat that you don't get, stronger, being able to skip everything. So, I would hope they'd have a way to adjust that, like, let you level up quicker or something like that, which I know some games have done too. I think Final Fantasy 7, the port gives you that option, or has, to my understanding. But nonetheless, yeah, you can actually. Okay, yeah. So that was the next point. Can adjust experience. Boost features lets you adjust experience gained by up to 4 times. Perfect if you want an easier run through the games, which I think I definitely would do that. Just to try to get through all of them. As somebody who's still to this day has only played the only Final Fantasy game I've still played is Final Fantasy VII, and of course a fair amount of the spin-offs, which I don't really count. But in terms of mainline Final Fantasies, I've still yet only played 7, of course, 7 Remake and all that. So, that is, I'm very tempted. Very tempted. I'll probably have to just, I will probably have to really just pace myself with these. Like, probably beat 1, play some other game, and then come back to 2, and maybe do it that way. I feel like, so I won't feel burnt out. Even though I think obviously, because these are the older ones, they're probably way shorter. I'm guessing 30 to 40 hours each, if not more. And then when you take into consideration eliminating the random encounters and the experience that you can adjust, that could technically be met much faster, which I definitely would do. But there you go. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster series finally coming to consoles. Love it. I love it. I love it very much. I really do. I really do. Oh, we got a new PlayStation handheld. So this is via Insider Gaming that apparently there is a new PlayStation handheld in the works. Before you get too crazy, oh my God, Vita. Oh my God, Vita lives. Yeah, that's probably one person out there that did that. Oh my God, Vita lives. I'm just thinking that in my head. That is just killing me. Oh my God, Vita lives. Wow, man, that is taking me out. So basically, this rumored handheld, codenamed the Q-Lite, is the next PlayStation handheld. Is the next piece of Sony hardware that aims to be yet another piece of hardware that requires the PlayStation 5. So it is basically like a dedicated. It's kind of like a Vita without the cool stuff that separates it to make it a Vita. So essentially, it's like a remote play device where, you need internet or need to be nearby your PlayStation 5 in order to enjoy it, from my understanding. So you technically can't necessarily play it on its own. You have to have a PlayStation 5 in order to fully utilize it. So it essentially uses the remote play function that, you have on phones and stuff. With the PlayStation 5, which, I guess is subjective. The sporting adaptive streaming up to 1080p and 60 FPS. The new device will require constant connectivity to the internet. So yeah, it looks like a PlayStation 5 controller with a massive 8-inch LCD touchscreen in the center. Oh, it does have adaptive triggers for haptic feedback. Will include what you would expect from a handheld: volume button, speakers, and audio input jack, etc. So this is supposed to come out first before the rumored, and emphasis on rumored, PlayStation 5 Pro, and after the detachable disc drive PS5. So, yeah. So apparently a revision Before the PlayStation 5 Pro, which apparently the rumor is fall of next year, and after the detachable disc drive PS5, which is apparently a cost effective PS5 where you can just buy the PS5 first, and if you want a disc or down the road you wanna use disc, you can get the detachable drive. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like you got a lot of fans that are huge fans of the Vita that may not be as versed on the news regarding this handheld, and will be heavily disappointed that you can't natively just play games on it. You have to connect to the PlayStation 5. I mean, if it's cheap enough, like if it was like $200, I'd say it's a pretty good proposition. Anything like higher than that, I don't know. I think that'd be a hard ask, in my opinion. Like charging $300 or something for this just does not add up. So we'll see. But I mean, and then that's the other unfortunate thing. It is definitely dependent on your internet setup. Like obviously, if you have horrible internet, obviously this device will do you no favors. Yeah, I don't know. They keep doing these like solely like streaming only devices, which in practice makes sense, but at the same time, I don't know. It just seems like we're not ready for it. It seems like something that will be more practical in the year 2050 or something. Then again, if we if we are alive by then, if nothing crazy doesn't happen. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm very skeptical. Yeah, definitely would wait for reviews for that. So, with that being said, that will conclude the news for this episode. We'll get into what I've been playing, which of course is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Boy, man, how many times I'm kind of losing track. So I started out on first off, after I saw John Wick, which we'll talk about later, I was like, okay, it's gotta be releasing sometime tonight. So I was waiting for the key. I guess there was some kerfuffle with the key, so I'm like, ah, damn it, come on. So I was basically waiting for the key. We finally got the key. In the meantime, shouts out to the Save Room. This cool game on Steam. You can get like I think $3. Basically, essentially, is the RE4 puzzle item organization mini game, but they made it into a legit game where there's nuances to each level where you got to maybe I should combine these herbs, or maybe I need to heal with one herb and then use the full herb to get all of that out of my inventory to at least make space for everything else, stuff like that, which was a pretty fun distraction and perfect situation for somebody who's just immensely anticipating being able to play RE4 Remake as soon as possible. So that definitely helped appease me for a bit until it finally got the key to claim the game on Steam, which that was my first playthrough playing on PC on Steam, and it was great. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it. Very much, graphically and everything. Oh, it was great. It was very great. I guess one thing to be aware of, if you're playing on the Xbox controller, and I didn't really think about it, but I just realized I was playing with a severe handicap, that the dead zone issues that were talked about at least a little bit before release, mainly on the Xbox version. I wasn't aware that it also affects the PC version if you're using an Xbox controller. Which I just thought, oh, it's a control thing. So you have to finagle the dead zone settings and aim and acceleration stuff, and that seems to help mostly. But at least when it came down to like the shooting range mini game stuff, it was a little bit more difficult. I found myself like constantly tinkering with the settings. So it definitely again seems to be like a issue that'll hopefully eventually get patched. But if you do play on PC, I definitely recommend a PS5 controller or a PS4 controller, and play it that way, because otherwise, yeah, you'll be a little rough. Be playing with a little handicap, and I don't know if it's maybe partially just Capcom's like intended design philosophy potentially, but it wasn't a good time. Wasn't a good time in that regard. I mean, I may do what was due, and at least I was able to shoot what I wanted to shoot for the most part. So wasn't too bad, but just something I kind of wish I knew going in, that I would have changed up the controllers or whatnot. Dare I say, even play with keyboard and mouse. Ugh, that just felt weird to say as somebody who's primarily a console fan that dabbles occasionally with the PC here and there. But playing a game with keyboard and mouse just is why. Obviously, with certain games like mainly first person shooters, I definitely would. But I don't know, something about third person, I just prefer to play controller for the most part. So, but yeah, as a whole, as a huge fan, one of my favorite games of all time. My favorite game of all time, Resident Evil 4. OG Resident Evil 4. That's weird that I have to say that now. OG Resident Evil 4. Man, it's hard to, and this is like kind of a realization I've come to, especially after the Final Fantasy VII remake, is that it's hard to say a game is better, a remake is better than the original, with the only caveat if, like, for example, like the original Resident Evil and the Resident Evil remake back in 2002, I think, 3, like clearly that game had a lot of rough edges, but it's playable. But obviously the remake for the original Resident Evil 1 game really put that original game to shame, like really clearly made it very much outdated. I feel like you can't really make that same comparison with OG Resident Evil 4 versus RE4 Remake. There are some stuff that I guess technically aged. Like, I guess obviously the biggest thing is probably the tank controls, but for me I've just played it so many times, I'm just used to it, as well as Resident Evil games in general, that it's hard to say the game is better, because there is definitely some stuff I prefer still in the original RE4 that didn't make the jump to the remake as well. In certain, like, minor details that I wish did make the jump in the remake that isn't, but obviously is in the original. So I don't know. I always, like, at least initially after beating it the first time, I'm like, RE4 is better. The original RE4 is better. But then after playing it multiple times, I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to say it's better. Yeah, I have a hard time saying it's better. I feel like it's supplemental. That's probably the best way I can say it. I don't know. I wouldn't like if I had to, Like if I was told, hey, you gotta get rid of the original RE4 for life or the RE4 remake for life, which one would you choose? I don't know. I still would stick with the original. I think if that was the choice, and I say that for a couple reasons. Probably the biggest one, I guess, potential spoilers. Maybe I don't know. I'm just gonna put it out there either way, but the game as it is as of right now, before the Mercenaries DLC comes out like tonight or tomorrow, um, the the game doesn't have a lot of the features that the original had, which specifically is the extra content, which is the Mercenaries, which is coming, as well as the Separate Ways content, which that's been rumored. It's heavily implied that that's gonna be coming later, but just as of now, based off that, it's hard to say that I would put the remake over the original for those reasons, as well as some of the stuff they cut out, which on one hand I understand why they did. On the other hand, I'm like, I still really did like a lot of that stuff. So probably like maybe the best example is what was it? The laser segment. If you played RE4, you know what I'm talking about. So basically the laser segment that seemed to be inspired from the Paul W.S. Anderson RE Resident Evil movie, the first one. That the when all of them were trying to dodge these lasers that was just tearing them up. So basically, there's that segment in the original RE4 where Leon is just dodging like he's Neo's cousin from the Matrix, and obviously, hey, it looks very stylish, very fun. I loved it. Obviously, as a fan of the Matrix as well, I think that's important. I very much loved it and enjoyed it. And then I guess that also leads into the omission, well, not even omission, the removal of QTEs, which I'm definitely more than likely in the minority from at least what I've heard from many people that still loves QTEs. And for those that may not know, QTEs being normally it's mostly referred to cutscenes, but technically is in gameplay as well, where if a QTE, if a button prompt will come while you're watching a cutscene, and then if you don't press that button in time, it'll change the outcome of the cutscene and you'll fail or have a game over generally. So it's like when you put all that in there, I understand where people want to, I guess the common complaint with QTEs is that it takes away from your attention of watching the cutscene without having to worry about pressing a button, which I kind of disagree personally, because I think if anything, it helps you stay engaged and you feel more involved in the cutscene, in my opinion. But to each their own. So I don't know, but that's when I'm willing to kind of accept that isn't in the game. There's technically, prompts and stuff. There technically is QTEs still from a gameplay sense, but just not in the the sense that you remembered from the original RE4. Then there's the omission of the boss, the one boss U3 from RE4, the original RE4, which was the one with the, what did he look like? He looked like if a scorpion and a scorpion and a pale white, very pale white guy just had a baby. I don't know that. Not an image in my head is horrible, but nonetheless, he basically it was that boss, and you know had the set of cages you had to get out of or whatever. But it just was a, I don't know. It was fun. I just like the horror, the uneasiness, and you know he can come and get you any minute almost. It felt like, and then after you get through that whole cage maze, you also have the, you know, the final battle where you fight them in this like kind of a small isolated um like circle in a way. I liked it. I liked it. I know some people like of the bosses to get rid of, that was the one to get rid of. But you know, they're then I guess that's the other, that is the elephant in the room when it comes to that, where it's like a lot of a fair amount of issues I do have with the game currently, I think could be resolved with the separate ways rumored DLC that'll eventually come out, that'll answer some of the questions personally that I had, that you know, it seems like they left some things open intentionally for this DLC whenever it will be announced and come out, you know. So I don't know, like let's say we revisit this question like a year from now. It might be tougher for me to still have preference over the original. Don't get me wrong though. That's I feel like I'm downplaying how great this game is, and that is not the case. This game is fantastic in a lot of ways. It just a lot of the stuff mechanically wise has just been greatly improved. Of course, Leon is now accepted and embraced the parry. Hey, then, and this is a thing I've been saying for the longest. Hey, any game that has a parry, I'm all into it. You know, that's probably one of the best things about games. If it got a parry in it, I want to play it. But I digress. So you know, yeah. So Leon can parry with his knife now. It seemed like they made that idea solely for that Krauser fight, which is pretty dope either way. Don't get me wrong. You can literally parry anything. I guess my one issue, I don't know, I feel like maybe I just missed the timing by like literally milliseconds or whatever. Maybe just me getting old. I hate to admit that, but I don't know. I feel like I'm still pretty sharp for my current age, but I digress. That's up for, I guess, debate. But I don't know. I feel like whenever I would parry or attempt to parry, pretty much, it sometimes it would not register that you know, I would hit the parry button when the parry should register, and I didn't get the response. I would get hit instead when I should have parried. Even also looking at you know, a indicator to kind of help you gauge that is that you press the parry button in the lower right hand corner. When the icon pops up, it'll show, hey, you parry now to do a perfect parry. It's my understanding where that would happen. But in a lot of cases, it seemed like I would press it at the right time and I wouldn't get it. I would get hit by the person. So I don't know. That's kind of up in the air. That's subjective. I will at least, you know, give that a benefit of the doubt, where it's just like, maybe I got to get good, even, you know. But either way, I wanted to put it out there nonetheless. I love the implementation. One of my concerns was that they might have went too, potentially we're going to go too dark in terms of the tone. Like, I love the ambiance and vibe. It feels way more creepier than the original. But with that being said, I thought that they probably would make it way more serious than, you know, the original was, which was, you know, very B-movie-esque. A lot of camp, a lot of corny one-liners, which they're surprisingly, there is actually just about the same, if not maybe slightly more, of the corny one-liners that Leon has that I'm very thankful for. Leon he's still in cornball mode with the corny lines, and I love him. I love him and I respect him for it. So you got that. I'm glad. I mean, it was a thing I could take it or leave it pretty much, but they did get rid of a lot of the sexually, like, what's the word, strongly sexually suggestive stuff. But I feel like they replaced it to be more tasteful, as well as kind of still allude to the references from the original as well. So I think they did meet a good balance in regards to trying to appease old time fans, as well as maybe people who have never played. So there's that. Also, shouts out to all these incels that have not touched grass in forever, that are literally complaining. I think I hear a plain apparently like review bombing the game because I gotta get into the oh man, actually I can't see Ashley's panties. I just can't see her panties. I just wanted to see her panties. You can't. There's no way in the game you can see Ashley's panties. I'm so upset. I'm so upset. Okay. Just touch some damn grass. Touch some fucking grass. Oh my god. Oh man. It was some of the most nitpicky I've ever seen. And obviously it was all along the lines of you can't be a weird pervert towards Ashley that like you could in the original game. And it was like we don't deserve nice things. We really don't. But I digress. So that aside, it looks like this game is doing like gangbusters. I hear apparently like 3 million in 2 days or something like that. So that's pretty crazy. I think it took the original Resident Evil 2 remake like a week to get to those numbers. So clearly, it's very successful. It just overall I'm satisfied with it. Of course, obviously with the nitpicks I did mention, you can't, when you kick people's heads, you can't kick their heads like where their heads burst. You can't suplex people you can suplex people, but you can't suplex people to where their head busts as well. I was just very much I loved when you kick people. Sometimes there is that rare chance that you kick their head off, or their head explodes when you kick them, or when you do a suplex, their head pops when you do a suplex on them. Again, nitpicky. I wish you could kick doors like you could in the original, where they're if somebody's on the other side of the door in the original, if you kick the door, they will normally like get on their knees so they're open for a melee attack, which I'm a huge fan of. Just a cool level of interactivity, and even if you like barge the door open, they don't seem to react to that, which was unfortunate. And I do notice that it's way harder to get enemies to stagger now. I think more so in the harder modes, but in general it feels way more difficult to get them to stagger, which is to where they're either on their knees or like my face, where they're open to get melee attacked, which it felt a little bit too arbitrary, where they just were doing it just to make it more difficult, which I don't know. I feel like they were better off just keeping that the same, and just making the health larger or whatever. what else that I had? Of course, we forgot to talk about. I think her name is Jessica Gao. Also, people who are first off, probably I think it's fairly a fair consensus that probably the worst, most horrible performance in the game was Jessica Gao, who, mind you, she was the actor from the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City movie, which is, but yeah, she's basically the voice actor in this game, and it's very horrible. It's pretty atrocious. She is some scenes where she's like, okay, all right, but then there's other scenes where like, oh man, are you awake right now? Are you bored? It wasn't great. You didn't get no. I feel like my interpretation of Ada Wong as a character is that, obviously she's a secret agent. She has a flirtatious, sultry side to her that with the slight implication that she has some good in there a little bit. That's at least kind of the general gist I always felt with Ada. But just with this, she just felt so one dimensional in this. And it didn't seem like it was writing wise. It does not seem like it was a writing issue. It seemed more like a performance issue, which again, it just, you felt it like, like she just, it felt like she just had a very hard night of partying the day before, and she's like, we got to record today. Okay, hungover, had to get some Pedialyte real quick before she got on set to record, and then bam, all right, Jessica Gal, let's go, and that was it. So, but again, that's a criticism, which obviously is valid, to criticize an actor for their performance, but apparently people have been bullying her and harassing her, and like, no, that's not what you should do. Don't do that. What is that gonna do? It's unfortunate. So apparently she got rid of her Instagram or blocked it or whatever, and it's unfortunate. It's like, I only critique the performance of the actor. I'm not gonna go directly to their page and tell them how horrible of a person there is. They don't deserve to be here and stuff like that. Which, that's the problem with some gamers. Unfortunately, it's sad, but nonetheless. So hopefully that gets rectified come the sequel, or I mean the DLC, Separate Ways, which it seems very apparent that they're gonna star Ada is gonna be the main character, and see what she was doing throughout this whole course of the RE4 remake. I was curious about what happened to Verdugo, but then I was like, I guess that does make sense because there was two. And then, obviously you fight one in the game, and then the other one, you don't know what happened to him at all. So it seems very much implied that, you fight Verdugo. Maybe they'll probably bring back U3 to some extent, even though they kind of wrote it off where U3 is like the Verdugo essentially. So it seemed like they tried to write their way out of having to have U3 in there again, so maybe it might be U4 or something. Who knows that? So people are speculating that maybe U3 might come back in the DLC as well. One question I had was like, you observed this huge ass hammer in around where you fight El Gigante. So I'm curious, like, all right, I'm pretty sure he doesn't use that at all within that boss. He, at least from the playthroughs I have, he never uses that hammer. So that leads me to believe that there might be a totally new enemy, probably another Gigante that utilizes that hammer to some extent or something like that. So they definitely left a lot of breadcrumbs to get your mind thinking. Definitely seems like there's probably you're gonna be hanging out with Luis to some extent, at least from what they implied in some of the cutscenes and interactions with Luis and Ada as well. So it's a lot of potential for the DLC, but again, a part of me kind of wished it was, with the full game release. But hey, Capcom, hey, pay up. And then that's another thing. So even before this Mercenary DLC release, maybe a slight grain of salt, it could be rectified with a patch that comes out like officially after the DLC is technically out for the Mercenaries. But apparently you can't play Wesker or Ada in the Mercenaries DLC, apparently, supposedly, as of now. That maybe that might be rectified with a patch update, but they might be saving that. I think Ada and Wesker, and then one stage and a difficulty, I think, is locked away, presumably, until this Separate Ways DLC releases. So now you got that issue where it's like, oh man, now we're gonna have to wait to freaking play Wesker and Ada until that DLC comes out. Like, come on, man. So as long as it's free, I guess I can't complain too much. But still, again, that's the issue I do have with, trying to say, oh, is RE4 OG RE4 better than RE Remake, RE4 Remake? And that's kind of at least the kind of kind of impasse that I'm at in regards to that. I don't know. As of now, if you ask me now, I will still say I do still enjoy RE4 or OG RE4. There's still like, the dog maze in RE4. I feel like the maze in this one is not as scary. Also, you have Ashley with you compared to when you're by yourself in the original, which I feel like that is way more scarier, really. It's just like, especially the dogs, you don't know when they're going to come out, how they do, and then you have to, on top of having to navigate the maze, just made it way more terrifying. Oh, I'm still to this day always terrified going through that segment. The novice starters, I feel like it just, compared to the original, it just wasn't as scary or fun to fight them. It felt like it was way more terrifying fighting them in the jail cell / sewers area, where they're more menacing than I feel like they are in here. They feel like more like foot soldiers rather than like methodical like substantial threats, I feel like. So I don't know. Yeah, so it's a fair amount of things I do have gripes with. I definitely love that they implemented Luis more. He has more of a prominent role in the game. I feel like they did a great job of that. Did a great job of Leon translating his personality, and giving it the remake treatment, which I thought was wasn't gonna necessarily. I thought it could have went either way with how they were gonna do that. So that is a welcome improvement. Ashley, I don't know. I feel Ashley is more so the same in terms of she still feels annoying in a lot of aspects. I'm not sure if it doesn't feel like the new system they implemented with Ashley, which is the incapacitated system. So basically, if she gets hit, she's down. She's like incapacitated, and you have to get her up. I think after some certain time, or after you complete like a combat segment that you're in, she gets back up. But it I don't know. It just still feels fairly annoying, because if she gets hit once, she's down, but if she gets hit again, it's game over. For the most part, she normally enemies don't hit her again, from what I've witnessed. But you still do occasionally get the issues of, they take her away and you're not. There's some segments where she gets grabbed by the enemy and you're in another area to try to basically work to progress, and the game forces you to separate with her, and then it becomes a predicament where they basically get to her before you, and you have to hopefully get her in time. And there's been instances like that where I gotten game overs, and I don't know. It just, I mean, I guess it's not necessarily a compliment, but she feels more or less the same in a lot of ways. And also, you can't tell her to like stay in a specific position. It's either be close or far away, one or the others. It's not like you stay right there specifically. That I don't know. I just I have an issue with it. It feels more the same. Yeah, it just feels more the same. It doesn't feel like a substantial improvement necessarily. So it is what it is there. I like all the the sequence skips. Apparently there's some cool dope skips you can do that essentially breaks the sequence of certain moments in the game. Like probably this is very early on, but this is like a dope one. I think technically you can only do it in New Game Plus, but it's pretty dope that you can actually, if you get a scoped rifle and, on the opening segment in the village where, you fight everybody initially, where's everyone going? Bingo. That would have been a cool touch if they put that in the remake. Everyone going bingo, and then they get the claps. They do the the sitcom laugh and wee wee wee. Oh, that would have been good. That would have been a nice touch. That would have been just a random miscellaneous, like a New Game Plus. Oh, that would have been dope. Like if it was a new, like obviously playing it the first time, okay, but then you play it at each new iteration of New Game Plus during that cutscene. Where's everybody going? Bingo. That'd be dope. Oh, that would be dope. Missed opportunity. That would have been dope. But nonetheless, yeah, so that was a cool, like, secret where, yeah, you can literally shoot the bell and immediately end that segment to, save time. Apparently, you possibly can do it with a gun, but I think you can only do it in New Game Plus, though. I think maybe it's just something that's hard coded that you technically can't, or it's physically impossible in a fresh save, because you would need a rifle and you only have a gun at that point in the game, unless New Game Plus where you do have a rifle. So yeah, Resident Evil 4 Remake. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Fantastic. I mean, I played it like, I think I'm on my third playthrough right now. So I played on first time on PS5, played on hardcore on PS5, which I don't know. I feel like playing it for the first time, I might have won. I should have maybe played on standard, because at least the only reason I played on hardcore is because they said, like, hey, if you played Resident Evil, you played the original Resident Evil, play on this. And I'm like, all right, okay. At points it seemed cool, but mostly I feel like I wish I played the standard mode first, personally. But nonetheless, it was fine. Then on the PS5, I played standard just to see the differences, and then I'm currently now playing on professional, which you unlock after beating the game once. So I'm now trying to unlock all the secret stuff. So I mean, just the fact that I want to do that, I think, is at least a good sign. Because like normally, if I'm not really a fan of a game, I'm not gonna play it more than once. So it's It's great. I don't know. I always try to compare me playing this playing remake compared to me playing this initially on the GameCube in 2005 when it dropped. That I don't know. I just feel like I think that's also a hard comparison too because like Resident Evil 4 when it came out in 2005 was such a revolutionary like groundbreaking game in of itself that like, you know, revolutionized third person shooters like, you know, Gears of War was heavily inspired by Resident Evil, Dead Space, um to name a few. So it's hard to I think that's a hard mantle to try to take over in of itself because I don't know. I feel like it's kind of unrealistic to try to, you know, think of like a first playthrough being similar in that respect. Just as revolutionary and groundbreaking as Resident Evil 4 was. So I don't know. At least for what we got, I think they did a very wonderful job in terms of, you know, you could definitely tell the developers love the original game. There's obviously a lot of nods and references to the original in a lot of ways that I like. So, yeah, Resident Evil 4, man, they did it. They did it. They at least, in terms of being a successful remake, I agree. It was very much a successful remake. There's still some stuff to be kind of to be determined, which I feel like that in of itself makes it hard for me to kind of even think about putting it over the original at this point in time. But I think time will tell in a lot of ways to, you know, discovering certain things and elements of the game and stuff like that. That if I really feel like it's better than the original. So, woo, gushing, boy. Yeah, I was gushing for a bit, boy. I went in. I did. So that's pretty much all I've laid outside of Call of Duty, but you know, Call of Duty is Call of Duty. Let's get into what I've been watching. Which has been Shazam 2. I think I watched it a while back. I forgot to talk about it, but Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, pretty damn good movie. I think a lot of people had low expectations regarding it. I don't know. I felt I was either way. I was open. But it was pretty good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Love Zachary Levi, who is Shazam, or yeah, and the whole cast, the synergy between everybody. It is surprisingly a pretty good movie, consider you know all the shakeups with DC, the DCEU. Is it DCU? Yeah, with the DCU. DCMU? No, DCU. That I feel like it was really good. They definitely set some stuff up, you know, to see like, hey, would you guys want this? Maybe? No? You sure? We'll see. I don't know. So I had to take a sip. So we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of funny moments. Yeah, I say if you go in with an open mind, I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Not to spoil anything or any stuff like that, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. As somebody who liked the first one as well, thoroughly enjoyed it. I think this one might be better, in my opinion, than the first one. I'll say that, at least to try to give you a litmus test. I'm really not a fan of rating movies, rating in general, because I feel like I don't know. I feel like also in my head things change in my mind, and I feel like you know having something cemented like that just does not do it justice, you know. But I digress. Also, of course, saw John Wick 4. Man, John Wick 4, man. This is a great movie. This is a great movie. This is a great movie. Especially if you are a gamer, man. John Wick 4 is just fantastic. this is probably the most video game movie I've seen in a while in regards to a movie feeling like a video game, not a, well, yeah, pretty much. So, this movie definitely made me want a legit AAA John Wick game. If hopefully, I mean, I feel like that's not too big of an ask. I think I wouldn't be surprised if that's in the works, you know. At least somebody taking a crack at well, I know we obviously had John Wick Go, I believe, but you know, that was a mobile game, kind of a indie-esque that obviously isn't like, I want like a AAA third person kind of Max Payne meets Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Conviction type game. That's what I want, you know. And then John was saying, yeah. That'd be great. Oh man, that'd be great. And shouts out to the director. Clearly, whoever got it to happen, but whoever did, I'm assuming the director, they clearly played Hotline Miami, because man, it was one scene in that movie. It's like, all right, you clearly played Hotline Miami. It's very apparent. You'll know what I mean if you've get those references. Man, it was great though. It was great. I'm curious if that's ever been done, which is kind of surprising when you think about it, considering all the action movies that are out there. But that was a great scene. Love that, man. I just wanted to pause, put my Hotline Miami playlist on and just watch it that way. Somebody gonna do it at some point. It was so great. I loved it. Yeah, loved John Wick. Loved the black dude. I forgot his name. I don't think he had a name technically. The black dude with his dog. That was a great. Of course, freaking Donnie Yen, I believe, who as Kane. Man, he acted his ass off. My goodness gracious. Man, loved his character. I just loved this movie. I really did. It was so much up my alley as a fan of John Wick. Keanu Reeves, man, loved me some John Wick. There's an after, I think, an end credit scene. Yeah, there's an end credit scene to it, which is surprising. I don't know. I feel like at this point we need some damn, like, at least AMC or somebody say, like, is there an after credits scene at this point? Because, you know, Marvel just messed it up for everybody. Because then you got people waiting to thinking that there might be an after credits, but then there isn't. You're like, oh man, I could have left it. I mean, I know there's a site for it, but I mean, I just feel like AMC talk to this site or something, like, to give us, you know, like, hey, is there an after credit scene or not? I don't know. Maybe, I guess that's subjective, because maybe some people maybe feel like that's spoiling technically or something. I don't know. I just feel like at this point in time, this current movie climate, I think we are due for being aware that, hey, if there is or isn't after or mid credit scenes to a movie. So yeah. But man, highly recommend it. John Wick 4. Oh man, it might be better than I'm trying to think what my favorite, because I don't know. I feel like each John Wick movie was better than the last, in my opinion. Like, I feel like 2 was better than 1, 3 was better than 2, and I think 4 was better than 3. And I think that was a tough feat for, IP such as this, any IP in general, really. But at least from a movie standpoint, I think it's way more easier from a video game standpoint, but from a movie standpoint, I think this was great. Oh man, the villain. Also, R.I.P. to Lance Riddick. Man, yeah, highly recommended. Highly, with the utmost recommendation. I do. Also, watched the Super Mario Brothers movie last night. And man, that was great. Yeah, don't believe Rotten Tomatoes, man. They just are just full of BS because this movie was fantastic, just fantastic. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Um, I was surprised by the voice acting cast. They weren't as annoying as I thought they would be or off putting. After some time, they did. I accepted them in my head. Um, maybe with the one exception of Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. He was a little like there was literally a scene in the movie where he laughs and it's literally just Seth Rogen's infamous laugh. It was like, all right, that was a little bit of got a little bit of dissonance there, but other than that, I enjoyed the acting choices that were made. Um, yeah, I dug the plot. I felt like it was pretty concise. The movie's like only 90 minutes, so doesn't axe too much of your time necessarily. I feel like everything went at a pretty good speed. Pretty decent pacing. I felt like. Yeah, I at least a lot of the movie. I was trying to find out where the criticism was. Like, what's the big discrepancy necessarily? But personally, didn't have any. I thoroughly enjoyed it, especially as a fan of Mario. Obviously, there's a lot of references if you've played the Mario games, like a ton of references, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Just being able to catch probably almost every one I could think of, at least from watching it. Um, there was a crazy amount of violence in this movie, which I'm gonna check what the rating was. I think it's PG-13. Is it PG? It's PG. Wow. Yeah, for PG movie, it felt a little risky. It more so the violence because it was scenes where like literally Mario's getting his ass beat. He was getting his ass beat, just getting his ass whooped. Like, man, he was taking them hits, man. Let me tell you. But he just get. It was like kind of like Dragon Ball in a way, where his ass getting kicked like 50 feet away and fucking just getting clocked in the head and just. And mind you, these hits are connecting. These hits are connecting. It's not like no, buffer or no, I don't know. He's able to get out the way slightly or whatever. He's getting his ass beat. Um, I'm like, damn, oh my goodness. And then there's this one scene where the characters are getting driven somewhere, and they basically cut off this one dude, and his ass just crashes into this stand, and it blows up into oblivion. I'm like, damn, well, he did not make it. He didn't make it at all. So I'm very surprised it got a PG rating in that respect, but it wasn't no blood, I guess, so I guess it's fine. But man, just getting clocked in the head repeatedly and PG. So that was an interesting observation. Um, yeah, just standout character. Shouts out to Peach. Peach, she really stood her own. She definitely is not the stereotype from the games. She definitely defied that very much so, which I really was like a nice change of pace, a breath of fresh air, if you will, which I really dug. You know. Um, what else? Bowser, yeah, Jack Black. He carried a lot of this movie too. I'll give him that. Yeah, he really did. Man, he was it was a great choice to have Jack Black as Bowser for sure. Man, he was really good, very very good. Keegan Michael Key as a Toad was good. I liked a lot of his lines, roles. Love the references again to the games. You got like Luigi's Mansion reference. Of course, you got the numerous Mario references. The one thing this game, this movie really made me want more than anything, that also made me surprised that we didn't get, is like a Mario Donkey Kong like game, that like platformer, that you could play as Donkey Kong or Mario, which I think would be pretty dope. Some reasoning to do that. We saw powered up Donkey Kong, which was dope. So I'm like, yeah, man, why have we never gotten that? So that'd be cool. I think that's definitely going to happen at some point. Like, clearly Nintendo is eventually got to get strapped for ideas. So yeah, definitely also love the Donkey Kong representation. You got pretty much a lot of the, Donkey Kong characters that you know and love from the, history of Donkey Kong. Shouts out to DK Rap. I'm surprised they managed to get that in there. Yeah, man, it was very good, especially towards the end. The payoff, it was really good. It was really good. It was very, very good. Very, very good. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really don't. I have to look at some of the reviews in regards to like these. I mean, just like atrocious reviews, like 2 out of 10s, like 4 out of 10s. And I'd say at worst, I'd say a 7 out of 10, at least that this movie is deserving. So, and I was trying to see what the discrepancy is, but I couldn't really see any personally. It just felt like everything was fairly airtight in terms of from a lot of angles. So don't believe these critics. If you want to see something, play something, just do it, because these critics sometimes they be tripping. I don't know if somebody they never played a Mario game in their life, which is what rock are you under if you don't know Mario, or at least are familiar with the plot that is Mario. I want to see those people, because like clearly Mario is like one of the most recognized, I think, characters ever. You know what I mean? So that's hard to believe in of itself. So I don't know. Maybe some just people salty that they never got to play Mario when they're growing up. I don't know. I don't get it, but I digress. Super Mario Brothers movie, highly recommended. I'm pretty sure, at least it's definitely slated to be selling very well in terms of box office sales and whatnot. So I definitely see a sequel in the works eventually. I'm just very I'm very curious why what these reviews are. I didn't read them. I don't think I necessarily read them, so I'm very curious to see like what these people are smoking, and maybe are they reputable in of itself. So we'll see. We shall see. With that being said, that will conclude episode 172 of Switch's Sights. If you did like this show, feel free to like, rate, and subscribe on your various podcasting platforms. You can catch me record this live on Twitch TV/SaySwitch Thursday evenings. Also catch the archives on YouTube.com/SaySwitch. Yeah. Until next time, y'all, feel free to fuck. Get your damn game on. Oh, yeah.
nobody's safe.